Women rule the West. In contrast to what feminists or dictionaries say, the term feminism is in large parts a promotion of femininity. That is, the promotion of values and traits generally considered to be feminine. In conclusion, it is also the disapproval of masculinity. Feminists don't want and have never wanted women to be strong. They have wanted weak women to be in power and wanted the West to be weak, and they succeeded. Of the many traits associated with masculinity, some of the most obvious are physical strength, aggression, and risk-taking, but there is another one that is very important and that is often overlooked. That is that men desire principles. There are many forms of principles, from natural laws to mathematics. Concerning human interaction, the spectrum ranges from rules of games to code of law. The person who insists on a rule of a game he plays on principle is, more often than not, a boy. The person who insists on the code of law to be honored is also, more often than not, a man. And the person to appeal to family tradition rather than the game's manual is, more often than not, a girl. The person who is willing to excuse a criminal on the basis of his social class or race is, more often than not, a woman. Men desire principles. Go tell the Spartans, passerby, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. That is not the kind of language we are used to hear from women. Like all properties unevenly distributed between the sexes, the desire for principles is not exclusive to the male gender. With intellectual properties, there is an overlap. For the rest of my argument, it doesn't matter whether you believe that this distribution is natural. It suffices to acknowledge that there is such a desire in human beings of any gender, that it is unevenly distributed, not necessarily between the sexes, but among all, that it is deemed masculine, and that feminism is opposed to it. This is the age of feminism in the Western countries, but not all parts of society are affected by it equally. Examples for strong masculine environments are sports, the military, and at the universities, the mathematical faculties and the ones that are strongly related to maths. And there is a simple reason for this. They all have in common to be a small world of principles. In sports, there is no affirmative action to give racial minorities a chance. And not the most radical feminist demands that elite anti-terrorist units should have a quota of 50% women, although, of course, some oppose them altogether. And in maths, there is no way to weasel your way out of the fact that you have no proof to your conjecture. These are islands of masculinity, islands ruled by principles. You find few women in those islands. For a short time, in a not-so-distant past, they used to be connected in a wide landmass with few lakes of arbitrariness, but today those lakes are an ocean, separating the other groups so profoundly that they even lost sight of each other. Most of the ocean is private economy, but the deepest waters are largely not. Politics, the media, and the rest of academia, especially humanities, are the most obvious, but again, the most important is often overlooked. The schools, and especially the public schools. Imagine you're a teenage boy at that age where they still look up to authority, where they long for authority, for guidance, for independence, for purpose, and for principles. But little authority is offered to them by the feminist teachers of today. Limited guidance is offered by those who went astray to teaching for lack of proper vision about their own lives. Limited purpose is offered by a society that deems child labor an evil and even less independence. The simple and the conforming will survive school unharmed, just as chickens who lay continuously eggs, even in tiny cages. But the smart will understand that the curriculum is largely useless, the teachers largely clueless, the authorities largely powerless, the system largely meaningless. They will slowly die of intellectual starvation like a predator in captivity. And they will know there are no principles. On top of that, the girl, the woman, is not only the image of everything they hate and despise, the lack of consistency, competition, the lip service, and the empty talk. No, they are ironically also the image of their sexual desire. A largely unfulfilled desire, for even when they can talk a girl into it, deep down they will hear a voice nagging, "You are not useful yet. You are not independent. You are not a man. You are not worthy of her." Only the simple and the hypocrite is not rendered impotent by that voice. Yet those are plenty. There are refugees. A young adolescent can gain independence and self-confidence by becoming the local drug dealer. He then will have to play under the laws of market. Supply and demand, that is better than nothing. He can also flee into the world of sports or video games. Both have objective rules that are not changed at the whim of a mob or the whining of a girl. The ones who cope better will surely look for a profession in one of the islands I mentioned. Those who are not impaired at all, the obedient women, the simple and the conformist, are naturally drawn to the deepest waters. Thus the effect reinforces itself. Thus it is the politicians, the media, the academia who are most corrupt and consequently most insistent on how important public education allegedly is. How it is an investment into our future. If you are young, don't make the mistake of taking your teachers, the schools, the news on TV as a standard of society. If it was, how would the cars keep moving on the streets and how would the planes keep flying in the sky? Don't think that to learn means to conform and to serve. Learn for yourself that the one day you will be free. Judge by yourself if there's a teacher you can learn from, and all the rest you learn from books, the internet, and by trial and error. All competent people I've ever met have been self-taught. The rest then sometimes ask, "Where did you learn all this?" As they haven't, and they did go to school. And if you're a girl, don't be insulted by my saying that women rule the West. My most cherished heroes are women. How else could it be, given how rare real men are these days? When I say woman, I don't mean the gender. I mean the insult.